The signal came from the edge of the Kethra Nebula, a dying scream broadcast on 17 emergency frequencies simultaneously. Commander Kale Veyron of the Galactic Concord vessel Serenova had been awake for 31 hours straight when his communications officer pulled him from a half-eaten ration pack and pointed at the screen with trembling fingers. "Sir," the officer whispered. Someone answered. Kale stared at the response signature on his display. His crest feathers, normally a proud violet, went pale as ash. It was a Terran fleet signature. "Oh no," he thought. "Oh no, no, no." The Serenova had been ambushed by 3 Vorkai warships, predatory vessels crewed by creatures that operated entirely outside the Concord's legal frameworks. Pirates, slavers, extinction brokers. The Vorkai did not negotiate. They did not accept surrenders. They collected biological specimens at gunpoint and sold them to whoever asked the fewest questions. Kale had sent the SOS on instinct, broadcasting into open space, praying to 6 different deities that anyone, would hear it before the Vorkai finished cutting through his ship's hull plating. He had not, in his most desperate calculations, expected the humans to answer. Nobody ever wanted the humans to answer. The TSF Avalanche dropped out of faster-than-light travel at 0347 standard hours, flanked by 2 escort frigates, the Hammer's Edge and the Unrelenting Patience. The names alone, Kale thought, were a psychological operation. Admiral Ethan Cross's voice came over the open channel before his ship had even finished decelerating. It was a calm voice, unreasonably calm, the kind of calm that suggested the speaker had long ago made peace with the possibility of his own death and found the experience freeing. "This is Admiral Ethan Cross, Terran Deathworld Fleet, 1st Rapid Response Division. We received a distress signal from this coordinate. Identify yourself and the nature of your emergency." Kale opened the channel with hands that were not entirely steady. "Admiral Cross, this is Commander Kale Veyron, Galactic Concord vessel Serenova. We are under attack by 3 Vorkai warships. Our shields are at 11%. We have wounded aboard. We..." "Copy that, Commander." A pause. Not hesitation, assessment. "Sit tight." The channel closed. Kale turned to his crew. His crew stared back at him with the wide, luminous eyes of beings who had just realized they might have traded one catastrophe for a stranger one. "Admiral Cross has a reputation," his tactical officer, Joe, said slowly. She was young, barely 2 cycles out of the academy, and she had the unfortunate habit of researching things thoroughly. "I looked him up in the Concord database. He was the one who resolved the siege of Io Station by flying a cargo freighter loaded with mining explosives directly into an enemy formation," the helmsman, New York, added, in the tone of someone reading a death sentence. "He survived," Joe clarified. "The explosives didn't," New York replied. Kale pressed his forehead against the cool surface of his console and breathed. "Everyone," he said quietly, "brace for indirect chaos." What happened next took 11 minutes. Kale watched it on the tactical display because watching it through the viewport felt like something that would haunt his dreams for the next several decades. The TSF Avalanche did not take a defensive formation. It did not hail the Vorkai vessels with demands to stand down. It did not follow any of the 17 standard Galactic Concord protocols for engaging hostile forces in open space. It accelerated straight toward all 3 Vorkai warships. The Vorkai, to their credit, recognized the threat and opened fire immediately. Plasma volleys that could have melted a small moon streaked across the void. The Avalanche took 3 direct hits and kept going. Its shields flared brilliant white, bled down to 60%, and Admiral Cross apparently decided that was fine. "Die," a voice crackled over the open tactical frequency, "one of the Avalanche's bridge crew, shields are at 60. You want me to reroute power from non-essentials?" "Reroute from the crew lounge," Admiral Cross replied. "Nobody's using it right now anyway." "Hi, copying that." "WP, fire solution on the lead vessel's engine array." firing. The avalanche unleashed a barrage that Kale had only seen in historical records of the human-Creathian border wars. Not aimed at weapons. Not aimed at shields. Aimed at engines, specifically, at the gravitational thrust nodes that kept Vorkai vessels mobile. 3 precision shots, timed in a sequence that implied someone aboard the avalanche had done this before. The lead Vorkai warship went dead in space. Not destroyed, stopped. Like swatting a predator's legs out from under it. The second Vorkai vessel broke formation and tried to flank. The escort frigate Hammer's Edge was already there waiting for it. Kale did not understand how a ship moving at that velocity had managed to reposition that quickly, and he suspected the answer involved human physiology tolerating G-forces that would have turned his crew into abstract art. The third Vorkai ship, the largest one, the one that had been raking the Serenova's hull for the past 4 hours, began to turn. Running. They were running. The unrelenting patience blocked their escape route with the serene inevitability suggested by its name, and Kale watched the Vorkai captain apparently communicate with Admiral Cross directly, because the fleet-wide channel suddenly opened again. Admiral, the Vorkai captain's translation matrix rendered his snarl into something approaching language. You are operating outside your jurisdiction. This is conquered space. You have no authority here. I have a distress signal, Cross replied pleasantly, and a very large ship. In my experience, that's usually enough. Silence. Stand down, Cross continued, and the pleasantness was still there, but something else had joined it, something old and flat and utterly without negotiating room. Or I will demonstrate for your crew exactly why humans are classified as a Tier 4 Deathworld species. I'd rather not. It makes the paperwork complicated. 3 minutes later, all 3 Vorkai vessels had powered down their weapons. Commander Kale Veyron met Admiral Ethan Cross in the Serenova's docking bay 40 minutes after the engagement ended. The Admiral was a broad-shouldered human with close-cropped gray hair and an expression that suggested he had not slept recently but had also decided sleep was a problem for future Ethan. He was accompanied by a medic team that had, without being asked, already begun triaging the Serenova's wounded crew members with efficient, gentle hands. Commander Veyron, Cross said, extending one hand in the human greeting gesture. Kale shook it, because refusing seemed inadvisable. You picked an interesting neighborhood to break down in. Admiral Cross. Kale studied the human. He had expected someone larger, somehow. Or perhaps louder. I want to thank you. The Serenova would not have survived another hour. That's what the signal said. Cross glanced around the damaged bay with calm professional assessment. Your ship's seen better days. We can do emergency repairs before we escort you to the nearest Concord station, if you want. Yes. That would be appreciated. Kale hesitated. Admiral. I have to ask. You flew directly at 3 hostile warships. Standard threat assessment, Cross said. If they held formation, they were disciplined enough to be dangerous and I needed to break their cohesion fast. If they scattered, I had individual targets. Either way, I got information. You could have been destroyed. The Admiral looked at him with the expression of a being who had categorized that possibility and filed it somewhere that did not affect his daily operations. Commander, I grew up on a planet where the seasonal weather includes electrical storms that can flatten forests. The ocean has enough apex predators to classify it as hostile territory, and the bacteria alone have killed more humans than all our wars combined. He shrugged. 3 Vorkai warships seemed manageable. Kale stared at him for a long moment. You are, he said finally, with genuine feeling, a profoundly alarming species. Admiral Cross smiled. It was not a reassuring smile. It was the smile of a predator who had been told it was a predator and found the assessment accurate and mildly flattering. We prefer motivated, he said. Later, much later, after the Vorkai had been transferred to Concord custody, after the repairs were done, after the Serenova limped safely into Kethra station under Terran escort, Commander Kale Veyron filed his incident report. In the field marked Responding Force, he typed, Terran Deathworld Fleet, 1st Rapid Response Division. In the field marked Assessment of Response Effectiveness, he typed, Effective. He stared at the cursor for a long time. Then, under Additional Notes, he typed, If you are reading this report and you find yourself in a situation where no other options remain, where the shields are failing and the hull is breached and you have run out of plans, broadcast on the open emergency frequency. The humans may answer. It will be terrifying. You will survive.